History is filled with grand battles, epic strategies, and legendary leaders. We often picture Napoleon Bonaparte, a military genius, commanding vast armies and reshaping the map of Europe. But what if I told you about a time he was forced into a chaotic retreat? Not by enemy soldiers, but by a fluffy, twitchy-nosed army of rabbits. It sounds like a cartoon, but this bizarre event actually happened. And it's one of history's most hilarious and unexpected footnotes. The year is 1807. Napoleon is at the absolute peak of his power. He has just signed the treaties of Tilsit, effectively ending the war with Russia and Prussia. He was the master of continental Europe. To celebrate this monumental achievement, he decided to host a grand rabbit hunt. It was a common pastime for European nobility, a way to relax and display their status. Napoleon tasked his chief of staff, Alexander Berthier, with organizing the event. Berthier, eager to please his emperor, went all out. He didn't just want a few dozen rabbits for a casual hunt. He wanted an impressive large-scale affair befitting the Emperor of France. So, Berthier and his men went to work. They sourced rabbits from local farmers and breeders across the region. They didn't just catch wild rabbits. They acquired domesticated ones, gathering them by the hundreds, perhaps even thousands. Accounts vary, but some sources claim as many as 3,000 rabbits were collected and held in cages, ready to be released for the grand imperial hunt. The stage was set. Napoleon and his entourage of high-ranking military officers arrived at the field, armed and ready for a day of sport. The cages were opened, and the hunt was supposed to begin. But something went very, very wrong. Here's where the story takes its comical turn. These weren't wild rabbits. Wild rabbits, when released in an open field with a group of loud humans nearby, would naturally scatter in fear, running for the nearest cover. That's what everyone expected. But these were domesticated rabbits. They had spent their lives being fed by humans. So, when they saw Napoleon and his distinguished guests, they didn't see predators. They saw providers. They saw giant, walking food dispensers. Instead of fleeing, the massive horde of bunnies charged. Imagine the scene. Thousands of fluffy rabbits, their ears twitching, swarming not away from the hunting party, but directly towards them. They weren't running for their lives. They were running for lunch. The rabbits reportedly surged forward in a relentless, furry wave, dividing into two flanks and surrounding the most important man in the field, Napoleon himself. They began swarming up his legs, looking for snacks. At first, the men laughed. It must have seemed absurd. They tried shooing them away with their riding crops and guns, but the rabbits were undeterred. Their hunger apparently outweighed their fear. The situation quickly escalated from amusing to chaotic. The sheer number of rabbits was overwhelming. They were described as a writhing, furry tide, relentlessly climbing over each other to get to the emperor. Napoleon, the brilliant strategist who could command armies of thousands, found himself utterly powerless against this fluffy onslaught. His laughter turned to alarm as he was swarmed. He was reportedly shouting orders and trying to fight them off, but for every rabbit he pushed away, two more took its place. The men were laughing so hard they could barely help. Finally, realizing the battle was lost, Napoleon did the only thing he could. He retreated. He scrambled back to his imperial carriage, but the rabbit assault continued. The most determined bunnies even followed him into the carriage, and the attack only ceased when the carriage began to pull away at speed. Napoleon was seen furiously throwing rabbits out of the window as he made his escape. The great conqueror of Europe had been routed by a legion of hungry bunnies. So, what can we take away from this incredible story? Well, for one, it's a hilarious reminder that even the most powerful figures in history are still human and can find themselves in utterly ridiculous situations. It humanizes Napoleon in a way that tales of his military victories never could. But, more importantly, it shows us how historical truth can sometimes be stranger than fiction. While the core event is widely reported by historians like David Chandler, details have likely been embellished over time. Did 3,000 rabbits really charge him? We can't be certain, but the essence of the story that a celebratory hunt went comically wrong because the rabbits were tamest, considered historically accurate. It's a perfect example of how the small, overlooked details can completely change the outcome of an event. Berthier's simple mistake of using domesticated rabbits instead of wild ones led to one of the most undignified moments of Napoleon's life. History isn't just a collection of dates and grand treaties, it's also filled with these strange, funny, and deeply human moments that often get lost in the textbooks. It shows us that reality can be far more surprising and entertaining than we often imagine. So the next time you think of Napoleon, don't just picture the general on his noble steed. Picture him beating a hasty retreat, his carriage swarmed by a relentless, fluffy army. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy uncovering the weird and wonderful corners of history, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories you probably didn't learn in school. See you next time.